Bigfoot stomping in the dark, dark night. Aliens dancing in the pale moonlight. Cryptid chatter blowing up the airwaves. Dr. Hogwash gonna make your day. Dr. Hogwash, yeah, he's the boss. Taking all the secrets and scrubbing off the gloss. Dr. Hogwash, awesome. Turn it up loud. The truth is stranger and it's drawing a crowd. Oh, Sasquatch tracks, Roswell facts, tinfoil hats. Dr. Hogwash got your back. Dr. Hogwash, oh yeah, don't stop. Turn it up, it's a truth drop. Dr. Hogwash, oh yeah, don't stop. You ready now? Let's go pop, pop, pop.
Welcome back, friends, scholars, night shift thinkers, and accidental time travelers. I am Dr. Hogwash, and tonight we are not chasing legends. We are reading records. Because long before modern aviation, long before rockets, radar, or flight suits with corporate logos, some of the oldest writings on Earth calmly describe vehicles that flew. Not dreams, not symbols, not allegories wrapped in poetry to make the campfire glow brighter. Vehicles. They had names. They had parts. They had limits, ranges, fuels, metals, failures. And most importantly, they were written about without apology. These were vimanas. Segment 1. What the texts actually say. When modern people hear the word vimana, they often imagine myth by default. Gods floating through the clouds. A poetic way of saying magic. But that assumption belongs to us, not to the authors. In the Vedas, among the oldest surviving texts known to humanity, the word vimana appears plainly. It does not arrive wearing metaphorical bells. It does not wink at the reader. It is treated as a category of object, something built, something used, something that moves. The Rig Veda references aerial vehicles used by the gods, yes, but gods in these texts often function less like spiritual abstractions and more like powerful beings with technology, hierarchy, and territorial disputes. By the time we reach the Ramayana and the Mahabharata, the descriptions sharpen. Vimanas are said to travel vast distances rapidly, move vertically into the sky, hover, land, produce sound, produce heat, and be piloted. One famous example is the Pushpaka Vimana, described not as a one-off miracle, but as a craft that could be summoned, boarded, flown, and parked. It was not marveled at as impossible. It was marveled at as impressive. There is a difference. Segment 2. This is not metaphor language. Let's talk about how these texts speak. Myths usually announce themselves. They shimmer with exaggeration. They lean on the impossible. They warn the reader, subtly or loudly, that disbelief is optional. The Vimana passages do not do this. Instead, they list materials, metals, alloys, weights, measurements. They describe propulsion in frustratingly specific but incomplete ways. Energy sources referred to as mercury-like substances, heat engines, rotational forces, wind containment, fire chambers. This is not how humans describe dreams. This is how humans describe machines they no longer know how to build. The tone is archival, as if the author assumes the reader already accepts the reality of flight and only needs clarification on which kind of craft is being discussed. No dramatic pauses, no awestruck justifications, just architecture. Segment 3. Later commentaries and the awkward details. Centuries after the original epics, commentaries appear. Some are disputed, some are fragmentary, some are clearly copies of copies. But they contain something strange. Diagrams. Not beautiful illustrations, not artistic visions, but crude, functional sketches. Cross-sections, labels, parts drawn the way engineers draw when aesthetics are irrelevant. One such text, often cited and often attacked, is the Vaimanika Shastra. Critics argue it is too modern, that it could not possibly be ancient. That may be true, but that critique dodges a more uncomfortable possibility. What if it is not ancient, but remembered? The language suggests reconstruction, not invention, like someone trying to rebuild a machine from a blueprint they once understood and now only partially recall. The descriptions are clumsy in places, overly technical in others, as if the writer is translating knowledge from a time when the terminology made sense into a time when it no longer does. Memory does that. Imagination does not. Segment 4. Consistency across texts. Here is where things become difficult to ignore. The vimanas described in Indian texts share features with aerial craft described elsewhere in the ancient world. Flying shields, fiery wheels, spherical vehicles, chariots of the sky. Different cultures, different languages, same problem. How do you describe advanced technology when your vocabulary stops at bronze and prayer? You borrow words. You call engines fire. You call propulsion wind. You call pilots gods. Not because they are divine, but because they arrive from above and do not explain themselves. The vimanas do not exist in isolation. They belong to a global pattern of early humanity struggling to document encounters with technology that did not originate at their level of development. Segment 5. The silence of modern history. There is no surviving craft, no museum piece, no carbon-dated engine room, no titanium hull buried conveniently in a field. And modern history demands objects. If it cannot be displayed, scanned, and insured, it does not count. But history itself is mostly paper. We trust wars happened because someone wrote them down. We trust kings existed because their names appear repeatedly. We trust entire civilizations based on fragments. So why is flight where the standard suddenly changes? Why must these writers, who documented laws, rituals, astronomy, and mathematics with stunning accuracy, suddenly become unreliable when they talk about machines? They offered no disclaimers. They never said, "This is symbolic." They never said, "This is a story." They wrote as clerks of reality. Segment 6. Vimanas as infrastructure, not miracles. Here is the most unsettling idea of all. To the people who wrote these texts, vimanas were not wonders. They were not anomalies. They were part of the world's architecture, like roads, like ships, like fortresses. Some people had access to them. Most did not. That imbalance created mythology later, but at the time, it was simply power distribution. Technology always looks like magic when you are not invited inside the workshop. So we are left with a choice. Either multiple ancient cultures independently invented the same kinds of flying machines in story form, using the same technical tone, the same functional descriptions, and the same absence of metaphor, or they were writing down what they saw, not to impress us, not to confuse us, not to entertain us, but to record. Because to them, the manas were not questions, they were fixtures. And sometimes, the strangest thing is not that the ancients believed in flying machines. It's that we refuse to believe they might have been right. Until next time, keep your eyes on the sky and your footnotes closer than your opinions. Dr. Hogwash, out.